Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How secure is your career really? If your company decided tomorrow that you were no longer part of the plan, would your financial life hold steady? Or would it unravel faster than you expect? In today's episode, we talk about what happens when the system you trusted fails you and how one man rebuilt his financial life at 63 when he thought it was too late. This is not about fear, it's about clarity. So let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. This show is for women who are done waiting to be noticed and ready to be compensated for the value they already bring. I'm Shannon, a promotion and compensation coach, and I help women position themselves for real advancement, not by working harder, by showing their value more strategically using what I call the 5% method. If you're ready for clarity, confidence, and career growth that actually pays off, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the show. Today's conversation is going to feel a little different, but deeply relevant, especially for women who have done everything right in their careers and still wonder quietly what if this isn't secure? David Nassif's journey to financial freedom didn't start in a boardroom. It began in a scorched Phoenix parking lot with a pink slip. At 63, David was fired from a career he believed was secure, leaving him staring at the kind of question many professionals avoid thinking about. What happens if the system I've trusted doesn't protect me? He realized he had no plan B. Instead of surrendering, he spent the next 6 years in what he calls a relentless research deep dive, distilling complex wealth strategies into something simple and actionable. By age 69, he had built both a thriving sales agency and a seven-figure investment portfolio. David isn't a Wall Street insider. He's someone who had to rebuild when the clock felt like it was running out. Through what he calls the one-page wealth compass, he now helps people think differently about security, simplicity, and long-term freedom. David, welcome. I'm so excited about this conversation today.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm really thrilled to be here with you today, too.
So describe that moment in the parking lot. Like what was going through your mind then and over the next couple days
Well, I tell you,
after
I
that?
would not, as you said, I was 63. I just got fired after 18 years with the same company. I would not wish that day on anybody. When I did the math, it was brutal. If we drained all of our savings and all of our retirement, we would be broke by 65. I mean, when everyone else is retiring and enjoying and sitting back, we're like, we have nothing now.
Right.
And I thought, who's going to hire me at my age? But here's the hardest part, Shannon. It was driving home thinking, what am I going to say to my wife, Mary? We'd been married for 30 years, and she did not deserve the mess I just threw her life into. But after about 2 months of dead-end job searching, because my heart wasn't in it, I did not want to go back to the corporate world, but I figured, well, that's what I got to do. But nothing was working. And so I decided to take a huge risk, and I decided to start become an independent sales agent, straight commission, no salary, no safety net. The first months were brutal, cold calls, constant rejection, rookie mistakes. I mean, I kept getting no, 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 no. But as I look back now, I can reflect back on it. The rejection I was getting was building the mental muscles I needed to achieve what I really wanted to. Because here's what happened after 10 months of grinding, I was now making more money than my good paying corporate salary. And for a second, I thought, we made it. But then I realized something, Shannon. We still didn't save anything. We were making good money again, but I've been doing that for 40 years. And so I
Right.
decided my runway is short. I can't fool around. I have to get serious. I dove in. I read 21 books. I listened to 13 podcasts consistently on finances, blogs, articles. Finally, I distilled it all down into one piece of paper because I did not have time for a bunch of investment theories. I had to make it simple and easy, a set it and forget it approach. 6 years later, at age 69, I achieved what I thought was impossible from terrified of being broke to a seven-figure portfolio and real financial freedom. I now know, Shannon, it is never too late to rewrite your story because if I can pull it off starting as late as 63, anybody can with the right direction. And I really believe that.
That is amazing. I mean, for anybody to do it in that amount of time is amazing in itself. That's a huge feat. But then, like you said, like you're at age 63 and most people are like, oh, at that point they would probably give up. But I
Yeah.
loved how you dove in and so do you feel like a mindset was like one of the biggest things you had to change?
Yes, I had to forget about my age. I had to forget about my limitations, and I just had to dive in, but I had to do it intelligently. I couldn't just spin my wheels. I didn't have that kind of time. And that's why I did the research because when I was getting advice, it seemed like there was always a conflict of interest in advice. They wanted to sell you something, they wanted to earn the commission on it. And it's like, hey, I made those mistakes for 40 years. I can't do that anymore. I got to do it right this time. I don't have much time left. And, I think that was my greatest gift, my lack
Yeah.
of time, because my back was against the wall. And I says, if I don't do this right this time, it's over. It's over. And
Right.
that was not an option for me being over. I was not going to let that happen.
I love that. So a lot of women listening, they like to tie their security to their performance. So did you have any warning signs that you now look back on and say, "Oh, here's my job was actually more in jeopardy and it wasn't based off performance," or what? Did you have any of those kind of signs?
I didn't really have the signs. I was in a good corporate position. Like I said, 18 years. Everything seemed stable and steady. But when I told you that it was the worst day of my life, but in retrospect, looking back, it was the best day of my life. Because Shannon,
Yeah.
I'll be admit, I did not have the guts to quit. I knew 8 years ago I should have probably changed, but who does that in their late 50s, early 60s, especially when they don't really have much of retirement. I just
Right.
felt like I couldn't do that. Looking back, I should write that company a thank you letter because they gave me the biggest gift. They really did. I needed to be nudged out of the nest, of the corporate nest, and I didn't have the guts to do it myself. And so I treasure that. That was a blessing in my life to be fired at that time. It really was. It sounds
Yeah.
as weird as that sounds now.
Right, right. No, and the fact that you didn't have that safety net, I think that that also propelled you and helped you to just, I have to give it all. I have no
Yeah,
other choice but to just go all in with this.
yeah, yeah, that's right. There's no other way.
Yeah.
Can I tell you there's a brief story that inspired the one page compass. Can I just
Oh
share
yeah.
that with you? Because it's kind of
Yes,
neat.
please.
Okay. Um, Scientists at the Max Planck Institute did an experiment. What they did is they placed people in the center of a dense German forest and they told them to walk in a straight line to the edge. Now, these were confident and capable people, but when the clouds covered the sun and they lost some directional things, the GPS tracking showed that they were gradually starting to walk in circular motions. Some of them were ending up right back where they began, and yet each and every one of them was absolutely convinced they were walking in a perfectly straight line. Shannon, that was me for 40 years with money. I
Yeah.
was making good money, I really was, and I've working hard, feeling like I was making good decisions, but absolutely ending up right where I started. And I've heard it said, if you don't have a plan, you're part of someone else's. I was part of someone else's plan for 40 years, and look where it got me, on the edge of financial ruin. That is something that I'll never forget that.
Yeah. So speaking of the that financial, you talked about a financial runway. What what does that actually look like? And I mean, I know a lot of women sometimes they say, "Oh, I don't do math, so I'm not good at math. That's not my area of expertise." What would you suggest for them?
Well, it's really not a big math thing. One of the things I did, Shannon, when I made my one-page wealth compass is I says, I got to keep it simple. I distilled everything down, like I said, into one page with a set it and forget it approach. I literally spend 5 minutes a month with my investing. When I get paid, I transfer it from my account, a certain amount, a certain percentage to my investment account. It's not complicated. It's not. Let me give you an example. In the 6 year period, I doubled my portfolio 3 times. That's kind of unheard of. But let me say this: I wasn't day trading. I wasn't chasing crypto. I wasn't trying to time the market. I was actually doing the exact opposite of that. I was doing something so boring it would put you to sleep. I found a different kind of intelligent, safe, conservative investment path that worked phenomenally well. And here's the crazy part. When the market was down, I was thrilled. When other people were panicking and selling, I was buying more shares at discount prices. My only regret was the market wasn't down more during that 6 year period. So many people, when they go to the store and they see 50% off, they never say, hey, I want to pay full retail for that. When's that going back up the price? They never say that. But with the
No.
stock market, that's what they do with the stock market. They go, oh no, the market's down 50%. Oh no, that's the time to buy. It's crazy. But here's what really shocked me was the math. And I know you say some of the people aren't into math. Let me just share you real simple. There's a thing called the rule of 72, and it shows you how quickly you can double your money depending on what your return is. And say you have a 10% rate of return, which is a conservative, easier way to do. Okay. They say that in 7.2 years or 86 months, your money will double. Now, when I started my Compass, my first double occurred in just 30 months. My second one only 13, my third one only 29 for an average of 24 months, way less than half the expected 28-month return. But the secret wasn't the returns. I was doing several things. One, I was saving a good percent of my income every month. Two, I was putting it in the right kind of investments that are low cost, highly diversified, and safe. And third, I was using market volatility to work for me instead of against me. I got out of the trap of buying high and selling low, which is the opposite of what you want to do. Okay.
Right.
I got out of that trap. Okay. Too many people do the opposite when they panic. They either get in risky stuff and have tragic results, or they get so conservative they can't even keep up with inflation. I found a simple way to build my wealth twice as fast with half the risk compared to how most people do it. And that's the safe approach I recommend, not the crazy stuff that you hear going on all the time.
Yeah. So what is one of the financial myths that you think that that people need to get rid of, especially these high performing professional women?
Well, one of the things is to just turn it over all to a professional advisor and just hope it all works out. Okay, let me tell you why. One of the biggest mistakes people make are they pay tiny termite size fees that create quietly termite-like destruction on their portfolios. Let me just give you an example to make it simple. You got two people. They're both starting out in their career, say they're 25. They're both going to work most of their life to age 65, and they both put $1,000 a month aside for their investments, just a round number, okay?
Yeah.
Person A puts it in a low-cost index fund, which is what I recommend. It has a 0.03% annual management fee. That's like way less than a tenth of a percent. Okay. The person B goes to an advisor who charges a full 1%, which is standard, and they put them into an active fund, which has a 5.75 upfront load and a 0.66% annual management fee, which is also quite common. But here's what happens after the 40 years when they ready to retire. Person A has a portfolio worth $8.5 million. Person B has a portfolio worth $4.2 million. These are the exact same contributions, the exact same historical market returns. The only difference is the fees, and that created a $4.3 million difference. Now, here's the thing. We're assuming they never got a raise. If they got raised, if we factored in the raises, it'd be even a bigger difference. But here's the tragedy, Shannon. Person B probably feels like, oh, I got excellent service. My advisor was so good. We went golfing one day. He's just a nice guy. Little did he realize he did the equivalent of funding someone else's retirement with half of his own money. I am not against advisors, but what I am against, Shannon, are these products that enrich Wall Street at the expense of the client's portfolio. And I'm embarrassed to admit this, but for 40 years, I never questioned fees. I thought, oh, fees are just rules of the game.
Right.
Later, I realized the fees we don't question can cost us the most. In a person B's case, it cost him $4.3 million, little by little, over a period of several decades. That's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes people make. They don't question fees.
Yeah. And person B probably thought, oh, well, I have for whatever million
Or,
dollars,
yeah.
but didn't realize that they could have had the eight something million
Yes.
dollars. Like that
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yes.
I mean,
Think,
I don't know about you, but that's a big difference. And that's like you said, without keeping everything the same at 1,000. But that's huge. I mean, that
yeah.
makes
Very good.
that's a huge impact on someone's life.
But do people tell you that? Do
No,
advisors tell you that? Because that's
no.
when I dug deep and read the 21 books and I uncovered this stuff. I said, this is crazy. People don't even know this. I put it on my one-page simple compass. So I never forgot it. And it's a powerful tool, powerful tool.
Yeah, that is really, and I think we can all take something away from that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what about those people these women that maybe are sitting here listening to this conversation and saying, wow, David, he did amazing. He did this later in life. Maybe they're a little younger, maybe they're 45, maybe they're 50. And they're saying, I want to do more what David's telling me, advising or mentioning, but they have fear because they have security. They feel like they have security in their jobs right now. What would you tell that woman listening?
I'm not saying, Shannon, that starting your own business is for everybody, because it is not for sure. And if you have listeners who feel secure in their position, they have a good income, I would say, and they like their job, let's assume they like their job, they're fulfilled with it. Okay. I'd say, fine, don't touch that piece. You're fine there. But on the piece about the wealth building, that's the part that you've got to now focus on. So when you get to be 55 or 65 or even 45, depending on when you start, you've got something, you've got the freedom to say, hey, I'm going to either leave the job now and not get another job, just retire, or I'm going to keep working because I want to, not because I have to. And that's a big difference. Let me tell you another lie people don't realize. They think, oh, I don't make enough money. David probably made a bunch of money. And I mean, I have a good income, but it's not like, well, that's a lie about you don't make enough money. Let me show you why. The NBA, average NBA player makes over $10 million a year. That's not in their lifetime, Shannon. That's in 1 year, okay?
That's crazy.
And yet, after 5 years of retirement, 60% of them are broke, according to the Netflix documentary Broke. And the NFL is worse. After only 2 years of retirement, 78% of them are either bankrupt or facing serious financial consequences, according to Sports Illustrated. Now, compare that to Dale Schroeder, a basketball loving carpenter who made a modest income his whole life, but he lived on less than he earned, invested the difference. He ended up with a $3 million portfolio. Shannon, that's more than most NBA and NFL retired people make after 5 years. It's like, and he is a carpenter, and he was making like modest income, not a lot.
Right.
I tell you, there's a difference between making money and building wealth. For 40 years, I was pretty good at making money. I have to admit that. I was terrible at building wealth. These basketball and football, they're great at making money, but some of them are terrible at building wealth. Dale Schroeder, he wasn't that great at making money, I'll be honest with you, but he was very good at building wealth. And so please don't think you don't make enough money. It's not about the amount of money you make, it's how you use the money that you do have.
Oh, I love that. I love that advice. Well, where can our listeners follow you and connect with you best
Sure.
after hearing this conversation?
Sure. Well, I have a gift for all your listeners. If they go to my website, onepagewealthcompass.com, they can get the free one-page PDF, the one-page wealth compass that I used and developed when I was 63 and used it all the way to get to financial freedom at 69 and still use it at age 72 today. I still look at it. I review it 2 minutes a week. That's all you need, 2 minutes. And then it's like a compass. It keeps you online, okay? Free, no obligation. No. When you join my newsletter, when you go to that, you'll see it right there. Just join it. You immediately download it, and then you'll get tips throughout the time for free. There's no money exchange, stuff like that. And just to help you get the compass. And if you like it and you want to join, buy the book, you can do that too. But this is what it looks like. And say you're on a certain step, like say you're on the wealth building or getting out of debt, it tells you what chapter to go to in the book. And then you can just take the book and find the chapter and just read the section you're working on. You don't have to read the whole book if you want. So it's a nice little tool, but you can just get this if you want for free. There's no obligation or cost.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, as we wrap up today, I love to leave my listeners with a small action step or a mindset shift that they can make today. So, what is a small step that the women listening could take this week to maybe feel more secure in her career or her financial future without feeling like she has to overhaul her entire life?
Perfect. Let me just share with you. It's a simple phrase I believe strongly. Clear direction beats misdirected speed every time. If you will download this for free and sit down for a few minutes and just review it to see where you're at, because it's good. Some of you are going to say, "Oh, I'm already on step 4." That's great. See where you're at. Then you'll be able to just say, "Okay, I'm going to have now clear direction," and I don't have to worry about speed so much. I just stay on the right path, and you'll be a lot better off than just kind of hoping it all works out. I promise.
Oh, I love that because that's very actionable because then you you have something tangible to tell you exactly where you are because you may think you're further or
Yep.
along, but once you fill that out and get that information, you know exactly where you are and
Yep.
can plan better for that future financial wealth that you're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love it. Well, thank you, David, so much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you, Shannon. It's been a pleasure to be here. I enjoyed it.
Before you go, I want you to know this. You don't have to figure out your next move alone. If you're feeling stuck, under-recognized, or unsure what's realistically possible in your current role, I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your goals, your role, and what makes the most sense for you next. No pressure, just clarity. You can book that call through the link in the description. And if this episode resonated, would you share it with another woman who might need it right now? Leaving a review also helps this show reach more women who are ready for real career growth. I'll see you next time.